So we're now moving into a month of mindfulness, mindfulness being the first of the 7 factors of awakening. And it almost honestly feels strange to try to give a talk on mindfulness when it's kind of so big and it's become so big in our world and culture. And in some ways, the word almost feels as if it's lost its meaning because it's so ubiquitously used. And so this really feels like an opportunity together this month to pause and really feel into what mindfulness is so that we can kind of get away from the concept and the bigness of that, and certainly away from any pressure or disconnect that that might bring, so that we can have a really living exploration of what this means. And I think trying to approach this idea of mindfulness with beginner's mind really fits with the Buddha's invitation of ehipassiko, right? Come and see for yourself. Don't take my word for it. So, as I offer some definitions, phrases, words, just really stay connected in the body and heart. Maybe notice the mind and see what most resonates for you. What might really bring this alive for you? Many of you probably know that the Pali word for mindfulness is sati, which really means being able to remember or remembering where we're supposed to be, coming back to the present. And Susan often uses the phrase, remembering to remember. Some other definitions and phrases: being purposely aware, non-judgmental awareness, intentional awareness, egoless awareness, loving awareness, direct, undistracted awareness, kindly attending to, noticing, observing with care, soft readiness, kind presence, connection, knowing, the ability of the mind to observe without criticism. And Susan often uses the phrase, a non-judgmental posture of caring attention. So you can already hear some of the common words and the energy of this, right? We can hear how there's definitely this aspect of remembering and coming back. What are we coming back to? The present moment, here and now. There's some aspect of awareness, observing. And there's this layer that many people point to of kindness or care or soft attention, right? And Joseph Goldstein, he gives a lot of Dharma talks on what meditation, mindfulness is and isn't. And he integrates a lot of this. He often says, yes, mindfulness is about being present, coming back to the present moment. But he points out that that's not enough, right? It's not just being here. And he often gives the example of a Labrador retriever, right? Labrador retrievers, they're in the present moment, but we wouldn't necessarily call that mindfulness. And so he emphasizes there's some kind of knowing that's happening in the coming back, right? The flavor of the awareness and the attention and knowing is also non-judgmental and accepting. So when we come back, we're open to what's here. And that's really helpful for me to think about, okay, like I'm remembering to remember to be here, to come back to the present moment, and to kind of come back and observe in a way that's non-judgmental, accepting, and kind. And why is mindfulness the first of the 7 factors of awakening? Certainly it's foundational, right? Absolutely foundational. and essential for the cultivation of the other six. If we're not remembering to be here and really noticing how things are, we're not going to be able to practice much more. And it's also balancing. It balances the other six. And Susan spoke about this a little bit last week. Mindfulness really helps us know which of the other factors to lean into. The other six are broken up into 3 that are energizing and 3 that are calming. And so mindfulness sees what's happening inside the mind and body and heart and aids in the discernment of like, oh, wow, I'm really scattered, really scattered. Maybe a little bit more concentration is needed. Let me kind of land with the anchor for a little while. Things like that. I also, as I think about, excuse me, mindfulness as a balancing factor, a sort of bringing wisdom of what's needed, it also feels important to remember the simplicity of mindfulness, of what it is attending to. What, when we come back, are we tending to and focusing on? That it's not more thinking and content. We're not coming back to analyze what's happening. Bill and Susan talk about an aspect of this a lot, our chronic addiction to content and to cognition and analysis. And so with mindfulness, we're not coming back to figure out what's happening. And I can feel my body, right? It always leans in when it gets tight, right? I'm coming back, I'm going to figure it out. It's not to add more layers of meaning and interpretation, quite the opposite. We're coming back to the bare experience of the mind, body, and heart, apart from the meaning that our mind creates about that. The textures and vibrations of sensations in the body, the texture of thought, the phenomena of thought itself, feelings arising and passing, and the energy of them. And the Buddha talked about this directly. He defined right mindfulness as meaning that someone remains focused on the body in and of itself, remains focused on feelings in and of themselves, the mind in and of itself, mental qualities in and of themselves, ardent, alert, and mindful, putting aside greed and distress with reference to the world. This is called right mindfulness. Thanissaro Bhikkhu helps us. He explains his understanding of what this means. He says, it means taking the body, for example, as a body without thinking about it in terms of what it means or what it can do in the world. It could be either good or bad looking, strong or weak, agile or clumsy, all the issues we tend to worry about when we think about ourselves. The Buddha says to put those issues aside. Just be with the body in and of itself, sitting right here. The sensation of bodiness, he says, that you're sitting with, that's your frame of reference. Try to stay with it. Keep bringing the mind back to the sense of the body until it gets the message and begins to settle down. So this is mindfulness. Remembering to come back and be aware of what's actually happening, the bare experience. That is really how wisdom about the nature of life can arise. We start to see impermanence. We start to see things changing. And so it's a simple but really difficult practice, right? And of course, in the process, we're going to come up against all of our layers of meaning and ideas and reactions to what's happening. And we can slow down and be mindful of that as well. And in our exploration of mindfulness this month, it feels important to also see each of us what brings us into it. What allows us to remember and come back? Maybe there are certain phrases or words in the definitions I shared that really resonate for you. Even just a simple phrase, remembering to remember, or Susan's phrase of a non-judgmental posture of caring attention. Maybe there are poems or images like the Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree. And for me, one way that I really remember to be mindful is most through my connection with nature, and especially with trees. And so I wanted to end with this poem by Mary Oliver today, just as a way of inviting that, really inviting our practice of this month to be new and embodied and fresh and alive, as if we've never heard the word mindfulness before, as if we have no idea what it means. So it's called When I Am Among the Trees. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locusts, equally the beech, the oaks, and the pines, they give off such hints of gladness. I would almost say that they save me, and daily. I am so distant from the hope of myself, in which I have goodness and discernment, and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me, the trees stir in their leaves and call out, stay a while. The light flows from their branches, and they call again. It's simple, they say, and you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. So thank you. Thanks for your attention, and looking forward to practicing with this month. So let's take some time. Always when there's words, I find it like is helpful to intentionally allow some of that to kind of sink in, but also allow some of it just to flow right off. And transition a little more mindfully to sensing the body, listening into the body and what might be needed. Movement, twists, stretches up, out. Perhaps that gentle kind of cat-cow where we're opening and then rounding the spine a little bit. Maybe tending to places in your body that tend to absorb and hold tension, like the neck, shoulders. The face, the jaw, the brow, the belly. Just really take your time. Take your time to listen in and respond in any way that's helpful. Maybe bringing your hands to any part of the body that might just want to feel that contact. And inviting a really gradual sense of landing and arriving. Maybe feeling the contact of the cushion or chair underneath you. And the solidity of that, the support of that. And the bare experience of the body, sitting and breathing. All sides of the body, the back, the front, the sides, the exterior, interior. Maybe noticing that the breath is moving. And the felt sense of that, where you notice it, the temperature of the breath. Just little by little, orienting to being here a little more fully, slowing down a bit more. Perhaps allowing the attention, the mind to rest with the anchor of the breath or sounds. And gently remembering to remember to come back. And to come back to just what's happening. With care or non-judgment as much as possible. Around me, the trees stir in their leaves and call out, "Stay a while." The light flows from their branches and they call again. It's simple, they say. And you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine.